Hey everyone, it is Andrew here from iDownload Blog. Today I have the Fitbit Blaze. The device Fitbit hopes to take on other activity trackers, as well as possibly even the Apple Watch and Android Wear devices. This is a rather long video as we go through all the in and outs, so if you don't want to sit through the whole thing, the takeaway is, this is a good Fitbit, but not much else. We'll go through some of the high-level product information as we kind of unbox here. The device itself is water resistant. You're not supposed to shower with it, but it'll stand up fine in the rain, and don't even try to bother swimming with it like the Misfit Shine. It is supposed to be one of the most stylish Fitbits with interchangeable bands, so you can really change and customize it to your liking. Battery life blows away both the Apple Watch and Android Wear devices, as you can get about 5 full days of battery life before having to charge it, so that's really great. It's got a 1.25 inch touchscreen covered in Gorilla Glass with a resolution of 240 by 180. So the device itself, while it strives to be very aesthetically pleasing and much more customizable, more jewelry-like, as companies like Jawbone, Apple, and Misfit have all been trending towards, they kind of really missed the mark here. For me personally, and this is just personal taste, I think this is kind of ugly. It is not what I'm really looking for as far as a wearable goes. The band itself is rather thick. I don't really like the huge clunky bezel, and even for a guy, it just seems a bit big on my wrist. Especially for a girl, it may be especially large for them. The middle piece does come out, which you use for charging, as well as to replace the bands. I mentioned it has other options for bands that you could pick up, which is a leather one for about $100 and a steel option for $130. It can be a bit knacky to get this in and out, and I'm always slightly worried I'm going to crack that screen underneath when I am removing or putting it back in, but so far that has not been an issue. Setting it up is dead simple using the Fitbit app. If you were using Fitbit for the first time, you're going to have to go through, enter a bunch of questions about yourself, who you are, male, female, height, weight, activity levels, all of that. Then they'll give you some basic run-throughs of how to use your Fitbit Blaze. Like pretty much all other wearables out there, it connects to your phone using BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, so it's not going to much drain your phone battery. You turn on the device, enter a pairing code into the Fitbit app, and they're all synced up, ready to go. Now you will need that Bluetooth Low Energy connection to actually use this with your phone. Things like the Apple Watch have built-in Wi-Fi, so you could use them all through your house, but with this you do have to have that active connection if you want something like a notification to show up on your watch. The first time you set it up, it will need an update, and this took quite a long time, like a really long time as I went through the process, but there is an initial update to make sure you have all the latest features, as hopefully they're bringing more of them, like kind of reminders to be active during the day in the future. Now this does not have onboard GPS, so if you do use this for running outdoors or biking, you do need to actually use kind of partnered GPS with your phone, so you'll have to enable that location awareness for this to actually work together. The band itself has 3 hardware buttons as well as the touchscreen. The far left button is most normally used as a back button, and the 2 on the right can change purposes depending on what you're looking at. Tapping the screen will alter through different metrics, and if you swipe to the side, you can first get the today view, so how many steps do I have today, what are my calories, how many floors have I climbed. Unfortunately for me, floors has been a bit inaccurate. It's been a bit hit or miss, but everything else seems to be pretty on par. Exercise is nice. You can just choose which activity you're going to be doing, as well as just timing it and tracking your heart rate throughout that process. High intensity exercises though have been a bit off for me, especially as far as heart rate goes. It was really quite off, even by about 30 beats per minute compared to like a polar heart rate monitor that I wore. One thing I really do like about this though are these little exercises. So I can choose like a 7-minute or a 10-minute workout, and it gives me little essentially GIFs that will go through and just explain what to do. And there's similar apps for the Apple Watch out there, but this is something exclusive to this Fitbit, and I really did like these. These were a really nice addition, this FitStar program. The other thing that's nice about this is it does include notifications. So if I get a notification on my phone for certain things, it'll show up on my Fitbit Blaze. The problem is it only works for things like calls and text messages. There's nothing for Facebook or Twitter or even emails. So other than that, you're kind of out of luck. Swiping down from the top presents a media player of sorts. You can turn on and off the notifications, as well as controlling any music that's playing. So basically just play, pause, going forward and backward. Now while you can control the volume within here using the hardware buttons on the right, you can't control what music, so you just have whatever's playing. Unfortunately, you can't pair anything with this, like you could pair a heart rate monitor or Bluetooth headphones with your Apple Watch. You can't do that with the Fitbit Blaze. Around back is that heart rate monitor. It's an optical heart rate monitor, very similar to the Apple Watch. Unfortunately, this was off for me, as I mentioned, especially during high aerobic exercises. It was kind of off and occasionally would give me spikes if I was just lounging around, be sitting on the couch working on a review or something. It's like my heart rate's crazy. So it was off a little bit, but it worked decently enough. So let's jump over to the app on my iPhone. I've got a 6 Plus here. One benefit to the Fitbit is it does work across the board, whether you're on an iPhone, Android, or even a Windows phone, you can get this to work, where something like, an Apple Watch is going to work exclusively with iPhones. The first page of the app is going to give you a bunch of metrics on your day. So how many stairs have you climbed? What's your calorie burn? What's your step taken? What's the distance you covered? All that's going to be here. Any meals that you track within the app, that will all show up. You can get in to see more of those metrics, so I want to see my sleep patterns. I can see how long I slept, how much of that was more deep sleep, and how much of it was light or restless sleep. The second tab is going to be challenges, so any challenges that you want to use to motivate yourself, this is really handy here, and this is similar to something like on the Jawbone. Third one is going to just be our friends list, and lastly we have our settings, so I can see my profile, the device that I'm currently using, as well as a few different options for that. There are a bunch of compatible apps, so maybe you want to use like Map My Fitness or MyFitnessPal to enter your food. You can jump onto the Fitbit website and look at all the compatible applications and download them, install them on your phone, and kind of pair them up. Unfortunately, it makes you go to a web browser to do that, and there isn't that many compared to something like Jawbone, which has like a huge list of compatible apps, and it all allows you to do all of that within the application itself, makes it a little bit more cohesive. So there is some level of customization to the Fitbit Blaze itself. There isn't a ton, especially when you compare to the levels of an Apple Watch or Android Wear, which this is not exactly directly competing with, but it still is trying to a little bit. But so it tries like just tiptoeing into that realm of customization, and not only with those watch bands, but with a few different watch faces. Unfortunately, they're all a bit meh. They all leave a lot to be desired. They basically just display it in slightly different ways. And whenever you do change the watch face, you do it from here within the app, and then it takes a really long time to take effect. Like, it takes a good 30 seconds of your watch just kind of rebooting to apply that face, where something like the Apple Watch or Android Wear, it's going to be almost instant. You just click it, choose it, you're good to go. This does take quite a bit. I trimmed it down for our video, but just does take a little bit of long time, and just shows the app itself or the watch itself is a little bit slower and not as processor heavy as some of the competition. So that watch face is very colorful. We can show you another one here. They all kind of do different versions of the same thing. Now, one of my big downsides is, while the battery life is great, 5 days, awesome, fantastic, I will take that. The problem is you have to take it apart and then put the body into this little case charger, which really takes away any possibility of having like a dock or something nice to go along with it. I don't like that you have to take it out. I wish you would leave it together. I would worry that I would, lose the band, or if I'm keeping them together while traveling. It's a little bit of a downside for me, but it does work, and obviously taking it out allows you to change those bands and update it to work with your style. In the end, this comes back to what I said at the beginning. This is a really good Fitbit. They've added new features like those tiny little workouts, which I really enjoy, but there's still a lot to be improved. Sometimes the watch display wouldn't always register for me. I'd tap it several times and it wouldn't seem to register. So it doesn't really compete really well with things like the Apple Watch, and it's only okay compared to other wearables like the Misfit Shine or the Jawbone Up 3. If you insist on having a Fitbit, you may even be better employed to go with a cheaper option that has most of the features here, and I think actually looks a lot better. But if you want kind of a middle ground device that's not as fully powerful as something like an Apple Watch or Android Wear, but you want something more than a basic tracker, this is not a bad option. You can find it for $199, and of course we put a link in the description below. If you have questions about the Fitbit Blaze, go ahead and let us know. Please subscribe so I can keep doing more videos just like this. And until next time, this has been Andrew for iDownload Blog.